Welcome everyone to another tutorial on Selenium WebDriver, in which we are going to talk about what exactly is in Selenium and why exactly we are going to use the Selenium WebDriver here. Now in this one there are different topics which we are going to talk about. Let's go through that one. First we are going to talk about what exactly is Selenium all about, because that's a basic topic which we need to cover. Then we will be talking about what is the purpose of using Selenium WebDriver, in which situations we can actually use the Selenium WebDriver here. And then we are going to talk about the Selenium WebDriver framework, the framework which is specifically designed for the Selenium WebDriver, the various drawbacks of the Selenium WebDriver, and ultimately at the last we will be talking about a demonstration over here which is all about the Selenium WebDriver, like how exactly we can make use of a WebDriver, a Selenium WebDriver in action, which can help us to go for some real-time executions of some test scenarios, opening up some website or doing some execution. So all that stuff is what we are going to talk about in this whole tutorial over here. Now coming back to the main topic, so let's start with the what exactly is a Selenium here. Now software automation is something which is a kind of minimum requirement every organization is having nowadays, because they were doing a lot of stuff manually in the previous situations and it was consuming a lot of time. But until then we were not having the frameworks like Selenium, which was giving the users or the automation engineers a whole total different exposure there. Now testing is always an important part of a software development here. It's something which gives a very a high level of value add-ons to overall exposure or the overall SDLC cycle here. Without the software testing, it's not possible for an organization to release its source code till production environment. And it makes sense also, because the testing is very important. Even nowadays, if we have to procure a new car or a vehicle, we basically go for a test drive. Now this is something which we are using because of the fact that we want to experience the exposure there, like how in real time we can see the vehicle in action, whether all my requirements is getting fulfilled or not. So you have your own parameters, everyone have its own parameters, so you just want to address those parameters and want to see that if this product is something which can take care of all your requirements or not. So that's something keeping in mind. Software testing is very important, and whether it's a manual, whether it's an automated testing, in both the cases it's very important for the software. Yes, over the period of time the organization felt that manual testing is actually is not efficient as compared to the automation testing. Secondly, it takes a lot of time of the end users to do that different processing and any kind of test scenarios. If he wants to execute, he wants to go ahead with that, so that's something which takes a lot of time. But in case of the automation test cases, we have a lot of frameworks which can help us to drive like how the implementation should be done. So keeping in mind, Selenium is one of the tool which is available there, and the whole focus of Selenium is to provide a framework or provide an automation which can generate a quite efficient results for you. And these results which we are talking about, these results are something which we are talking about, like how exactly we are getting the high level of efficiency. So when we are talking about Selenium, so it gives us a lot of benefits and a lot of exposure. So you talking about the websites, when we talk about websites, we deal like, okay, if I have to validate my website, I have to do the login, I have to access the application, so that's how I will be doing the verification. But with the help of Selenium kind of frameworks, we don't have to do these things manually anymore. We have this automation tool which can help us to drive the things. It will automatically open the browser, go to the specific website, put some inputs, clicking on some buttons, generating the responses and taking up the actions. So ultimately it will help you to drive each and everything from the beginning to the end. Most of the organizations after the deployment actually have written the test cases like the sanity testing and the smoke testing in case of the Selenium. like a particular Selenium test cases will be executing. It will try to validate that if the application is working fine as expected or not. Just try to have a kind of a brief overview, or you can say like a introduction here, like this so and so steps you have to execute, this so and so procedure you have to execute to follow a complete procedure or complete automation here. So keeping in mind, Selenium is one of the open source tool which is available there for this purpose of writing the test cases, test automation there. Any kind of web portal can be easily verified and tested along with the help of Selenium. It's something which can be created, like the test scripts can be easily created across different programming languages. It's not like, since Selenium is written in the Java programming language, so you can only use this one for the Java programming language. It's not like that. It's pretty generic, which means like any programming languages, if you feel you want to use, you can use Selenium for that. So it's having the compatibility with the Java, C#, Python, a variety of applications, programming languages can be used with the help of Selenium. So it doesn't mean like you are only stuck with one language. So it helps you to gain the benefits also, because once you are comfortable with Selenium, then pretty much any programming languages you can automate. And if you see, like most of the automation engineers are actually having the understanding of Selenium only, because this gives them the comfort that with this one single programming language, they will be able to handle like all the different programming languages related work, whether it's a C#, whether it's a .NET, it's a Java, a Node.js, or any kind of programming languages there. So Selenium is having the comfort, or is having the compatibility with that. Also, in case of Selenium, it's not only about one test cases. We can pretty much create test suites, like heavy test suites. You can create the regression test suites, you can create the UAT test suites, you can create the sanity testing or the smoke testing kind of test suites. So there are different kind of test suites which you can create here. Now these test suites actually have a bunch of test cases integrated. Like it's not only about one test case, or it's not only about two test cases. It's kind of a bunch of test cases which we are trying to create with the help of Selenium. So Selenium is something in which we basically create a multiple test cases. It's a combination of multiple test cases all together into a single one. So that's what we call it as a kind of Selenium test suite here, right? Now the Selenium test suite is comprising of 4 different tools here. The very first one is the Selenium remote control. Second one is the Selenium grid. Then we got Selenium IDE, and ultimately at last we have the Selenium WebDriver. So these are the 4 different tools which we got over here with the moment we talk about the Selenium suite here. Now let's talk about this Selenium WebDriver, because that's the whole focus of this content over here, to see like what exactly is the Selenium WebDriver and how we can go ahead with that. So coming back to the Selenium WebDriver, so here Selenium WebDriver is one of the most important component of the Selenium test suite. When we talk about the Selenium tools suite over here, like we talk about, okay, I want to create a whole together regression test suite. So Selenium WebDriver is very important component for that. And when we talk about the Selenium WebDriver, it allows the cross-browser compatibility, which means like you want to test your applications, you can have a test suite there, one for the Chrome browser, one for the Firefox, one for the Internet Explorer. You can then say like, okay, I want to test and validate my application across all these 3 browsers. And in future, if Safari browser comes in, all you have to do is like you have to just run the same script with the WebDriver of the Safari. So this WebDriver is not only static for one browser, it's actually approachable for across multiple browsers there. So that enhances the compatibility there, that yes, this set test suite, even if you're writing the test suites in case of Selenium, it's not limited to one browser. So it's kind of a cross browser here. So these are small benefits, although we are talking about the Selenium WebDriver here. But if you closely see, these all points are actually defining why exactly the Selenium is best when we talk about the web automations or the web testing automation here, right? And then it's actually supporting various programming languages, like programming languages. Yes, it's there. It's even supporting different browsers. And then of course it's supporting different operating systems also, because you can pretty much run these test cases onto Linux, Macs, or Windows, whatever the platform you feel like you want to use. You can pretty much use it, so you don't have to worry about like where exactly this WebDriver is getting deployed and from where you are trying to refer it. So that kind of compatibility is also something which is available here, so you don't have to think about the specific different versions or the different operating systems as such over here. And then let's talk about further on this one. So it also provides the compatibility across different programming languages. So you can see like what are the different benefits you got. You got benefits like it's supporting different programming languages, it's supporting different browsers, and ultimately at last it's supporting the different particular operating systems or the platforms here. So these are small things like different benefits which we get with the help of Selenium here. And it's having the support across different programming languages, so it doesn't matter that if you're working with Java or if you're working with .NET, this is going to work for across different platforms, like different environments you can actually deploy. So these benefits are something which can definitely help you to see like how the overall benefits can be achieved over here. And definitely the Chrome browsers, the Safari, the Firefox, the Opera, different platforms, you will be able to see like how the execution needs to be done and how the setup used to be performed here. So that's where the complete implementations needs to be performed here, right? And these WebDriver provides a faster execution of the test scripts, because that's the kind of automation which we are looking forward, that we are not trying to see like how the systems can be implemented. So when we are trying to talk about the automation here, so these WebDrivers basically help us to go for the faster execution also. So it's not only about that we are trying to see the setup, like we are trying to go for the configurations here. It's also like the performance and the efficiency which we're getting with this one is quite beneficial. So you can get an easy and a faster execution of the test cases. So it's having a lot of benefits. If we talk about in these features only itself, you can see like there are a lot of benefits which we got over here. So it's fast, it's efficient, and on top of that, it's not depending on any kind of environment. It's quite generic, like it's something which you can use for Windows, you can use it for Linux, you want to use it for .NET, you want to use it for Java. It's kind of generic for a lot of technologies, platforms, and programming languages. Right now, why exactly we require the Selenium WebDriver? Like, what is the purpose of using this one? So let's explore on that part here. So Selenium WebDriver provides a user-friendly interface that could, it can be easily understood by a particular person. Like when you are using this Selenium WebDriver, so this is something which you can easily understood. Like it's pretty easy for you to understand that, and it's not that much complex for you to understand that. Okay, you are going to take a lot of time to consume. You're going to take a lot of time to understand that. So that's not a kind of interface which we are getting when we talk of the Selenium WebDriver here, right? And the WebDriver is something which is having much more features as compared to the Selenium RC and Selenium IDE there. So when we talk about the Selenium WebDriver, so this is something which is having much more features as compared to the other components. Like the other components is also about the Selenium only, but yes, when we talk about Selenium WebDriver, so it's having much more features as compared to the Selenium RC and the Selenium IDE here. So you don't have to worry about the features. Like altogether, Selenium WebDriver is something which is quite efficient and better as compared to the other components. So that's another benefit which we get with the Selenium here. So Selenium, we have got some other components like Selenium remote control here. So RC is something which enables the creation of automated web applications, like in case of programming languages such as Java, C#, Node.js. Different programming languages are there. So we can pretty much use the remote control, the Selenium remote control over here, which will enable the the creation of the automated web applications there. So that's the purpose of using the Selenium remote control here. It's not something which is being used nowadays, because most of the functionalities have nowadays moved on to the Selenium WebDriver here. So that's a migration which has happened over there, and that's the reason why we are not going to use much of the Selenium remote control over here. So that's not being used as such as compared to the other components. But yes, the Selenium WebDriver is something which is quite popular, and because of its features and the efficiency, we are going to use the particular WebDriver as compared to the any other component as such here. Right now, Selenium IDE needs not additional any kind of setup is required, like apart from installation of the browser, because in that case everything will be integrated in that, like because we are using we are integrating the complete Selenium IDE over here. So all you need to do is, like, you need to do the installation of Chrome browser. That's also because you want to go for the specific Chrome driver which you require for the execution of the test cases. So for that only you are basically trying to install the Chrome browser, but other than that there is no other component which you actually require when we talk about the Selenium IDE here. So the IDE makes the life easy because it helps us to go ahead with the debugging mode here, like a kind of a debugging environment. You will be able to do that. So even if there is any kind of issue, any kind of problem which comes up, so it will be very easy for you to debug those things and go ahead with that part. So tracking the exceptions, managing the exceptions, so all those things can be easily handled up with the help of the Selenium IDE here. So Selenium IDE is something which is kind of a bigger package, which is further comprising of different components. Like, it's something which is giving us a variety of things here. Right now, how exactly the Selenium WebDriver is at all different from the Selenium RC and IDE, because those are also the solution which is available there from the Selenium. Now, unlike the Selenium IDE, Selenium WebDriver can actually work with different browsers. So that's something which we have already focused on, that it's having the compatibility across multiple browsers there. That's the first benefit which we get over here in this one. Now also the WebDrivers is something which does not require any user to start the server or anything like that there. So just in case of Selenium RC, you have to start some server because you're ultimately connecting to that server, and that's how the communication is happening. But that kind of stuff is not there in the Selenium WebDriver here. Also, the Selenium WebDriver is an API and it's not a GUI based plugin. So it's something which can easily handle, like it's having the quite efficient connectivity, or you can say like the integration is also good there, because most of the applications nowadays are working on the API format, which is pretty generic. So there is no GUI based interface which we have to explore or which we need to integrate here. So it's all like the APIs call which we need to do in order to use make use of the Selenium WebDriver here. Now in Selenium WebDriver, the APIs are entirely object oriented in nature as compared to the Selenium RC and Selenium IDE, so which is not kind of object oriented in nature, but Selenium WebDriver is something which is quite object oriented here. Also WebDriver, the Selenium WebDriver is actually supports multiple listeners, right? So which is available there as compared to Selenium RC and Selenium IDE here. So these are some couple of features which is available there. Also, it also supports the testing of the iOS and Android, which is not being supported in the RC and IDE there, because most of the applications nowadays also have the counterpart Android or the iOS applications. So if you don't have the interface or integration with those platforms, then it's an incomplete way of testing here. So not only the web applications, but even the mobile applications also now getting integrated with the help of the Selenium WebDriver here. So these kind of features which is not exactly available in the RC or the IDE over here, but definitely it's going to be available there in case of Selenium WebDriver. So what exactly is the overall need of the WebDriver, like the Selenium WebDriver here? So let's talk about that how exactly we can use it for the software automation here. So there are a couple of benefits which is available there. So let's focus on that one by one. The very first one is the open source. Now it's something which is available, or which is available as an open source over here. which means like it's something which you can use without any license, without any cost. Just like that, you can go to the Selenium .dev website and you can start downloading the Selenium related tales or Selenium related components. Second is multilingual support. It's having the support for different kind of programming languages, not only for the Java based applications. It's actually supporting like different programming languages. So you just have to learn one single tool and then can suffice or that can support multiple programming languages here. Several operating system support. Yes, it's not only related to the Windows or Linux platform here, so it's actually supported across uh, Windows, Linux, Mac OS. Different operating systems are actually supported here. So different operating systems is supported by this particular Selenium here. Multiple frameworks are there, so that's a multiple framework support which is available in this one. User friendly, it's quite user friendly there, and the developers who are more comfortable with the Java programming languages, so they get quite comfortable and integrated with the Selenium, because it's also using the same Java syntax over here in this one. It's cross-device testing. Definitely both mobile, desktops, different platforms, different operating systems, Mac OS, iOS, Android, different platforms are actually supported by this particular Selenium here. So Selenium WebDriver is something which is having like cross-device testing here. Community support is there. It's kind of open source, yes, but it's having a very good community. Like a lot of people are actually there who can contribute to this Selenium. You can get the information from there, and it's kind of a huge efforts, like a kind of a huge community efforts which you can see over here in this case. Also compatibility testing, so it's having a very good compatibility here. So when you're working with this Selenium, so it's compatible with pretty much any programming languages, any platform, any operating system. So that kind of benefits you get with the help of this Selenium WebDriver here. And unlike Selenium RC, you don't have to start any kind of server component here which you need to connect. So it's like on demand, like when you're running the scripts, kind of a local Chrome browser will be initialized, and your test cases will be executed and performed, and that's how the whole executions will be performed there. So there is no involved like you have to go somewhere, start some server, start some remote server there, and then the communication or the execution of the test cases will be initialized. So it's not like that kind of communication here. Right, so let's talk about the WebDriver architecture here. Now in this one there are some different components which is available there in this architecture components. The very first one is the Selenium language bindings here. Now these are actually available in different programming languages like Java, Ruby, Python, C#, JavaScript. These are the different programming languages bindings which is available there. Then with the help of JSON wire protocol, these are going to be connected to the different drivers. Now browser drivers is the one where exactly the request will be sent out. So the Selenium WebDriver is actually going to connect or send the request to these drivers. So depending on the platform also, and depending on the different systems, you can actually go for the browser drivers here. So you want to go for Chrome driver, you want to go for Firefox, you want to go for Opera, you want to go for Safari, Edge. These are the different browsers which is available there. Earlier the Internet Explorer was also there, but now in the latest versions the Edge browser or Edge driver is something which is available there. And these are going to be connected through the actual particular browsers like the Chrome, Firefox and all. So it will be sending the request over the HTTP that request will be sent out to the real drivers. So the browser drivers and then the real drivers will be there. So the web driver is going to connect to the Chrome driver, and then in fact from there the Chrome driver is going to initialize the Chrome browser, and then the whole request will be processed. The websites will be open, the clicking, the access, everything will be done after that on that case. So these are the different steps which is involved when we are basically going for from one step to another, like where the communications will be performed over here in this case. Right, so again it's not dependent on any programming languages, it's not dependent on any kind of browser or any kind of components here. So right from the language bindings, it will go to the JSON wire protocol. From there, it will be sent out to the browser drivers, various browser drivers, whatever the browser drivers you want to use, you can use that. And then those drivers are actually going to connect with the real drivers or with the real browsers over here, so that the communications or the exact end result you should be able to see. So for instance, if you run a particular Chrome browser, Chrome driver there, so you will be able to see like a Chrome browser getting initialized and the website is getting accessible. So all that activity will be happened or will be performed over there. So these are the parts of the sequence. These are kind of architecture components, like one to another. These will be processed or these will be executed here. Right. So these programming language, these Selenium programming languages, again, it's actually a kind of a generic one. So these are the client libraries which is available there depending on this one. For example, for Java, I can download some binaries. I can download some jar files, so that will be referenced or utilized into my source code. For Ruby, it's maybe like different third-party libraries or shared libraries which will be available there. For Python, it will be available in the form of modules, C#, JavaScript. So each and every programming languages is actually having its own libraries. Now these libraries are actually required so that we can get the whole interface of the Selenium. It's okay, like I'm writing some test cases, I'm writing the complete test suite and I'm using it, but unless and until I import my Selenium libraries, it will not work for me. I will not be able to work on that part because I will not be able to get those features as such. In order to get those features, I need to download these bindings or these kind of language bindings there corresponding to my programming language, and these are easily available on the Selenium website. So if you go to the Selenium website, whatever the programming languages you want to follow, you can download these bindings. These bindings will be nothing but the archives where you will be having some kind of executables depending on that programming language. Right now, from there we will be using our libraries like these bindings in order to interact or in order to initialize the Selenium. So then we will be going to the JSON wire protocol. So it's kind of a connector between the libraries and the web drivers. Now programmatically, using these with the help of these client libraries, we're going to send the request to the web drivers. It also helps to enable the transfer of data between a server and client, because of course you have to get your end result process, right? So that's where you need to go for the execution. So what you're going to do is, like, you're going to see like, okay, I'm going to run or I'm going to execute this JSON wire protocol over here, and it's going to connect between my client libraries and the web drivers here. So that's the communications and the connectivity which we want to establish or we want to provide here. Now these Selenium browser drivers are actually specific browsers now, because the JSON wire is going to connect to the specific browsers, the drivers here, so that the communication can be happen. Now these drivers are actually used as in drivers in order to interact with the exact browser, because these are not the exact browser. Now if you want to interact with the Chrome, then you definitely have to use the Chrome driver. If you want to use for the Firefox, then you have to use the Firefox driver. So depending on the programming language, you have to define like which driver you really need to process, or you need to really go ahead with that part. So that's where the Selenium browser drivers really comes into the picture. And then the exact browsers will be there. Now once the executions will be done, at last you will be able to see like all these browsers getting open. If you're going to use the Chrome browser, then Chrome browser will be initialized. If you're using the Firefox, then the Firefox browser will be initialized. So whatever the browser driver, specific driver you will utilize, so according to that you will see a particular browser being invoked over here. So that's how the communication happens, and it's kind of a sequence here, like step by step here. So each and every stage is very important, because that's how the communication will happen over here, and you will get the end result or the desired output. If you have any kind of failing component over here, so that's where the whole connectivity will be breakdown, and you will not be able to get any kind of values as expected. So this is something which we really need to consider, or we need to go ahead with that part here.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit Skill Up by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
So what are the different drawbacks which we got with the help of the Selenium WebDriver here? So when we talk about the Selenium WebDriver, so what are the different drawbacks which we are getting over here, so that we can understand like how exactly we can talk about that part here. Now the drawbacks of Selenium WebDriver is something which we use, because this is kind of main component, you can say, like using which you can actually do the complete validation. But the problem is that it's not something which you can use for the desktop application. So for the desktop application this does not works. So this WebDriver is something which is supported for the web applications only. It's not something which we can use for the desktop applications as such. So that's a kind of a limitation which we get with the help of the Selenium WebDriver here. So it's only there for the websites, for the web portals. Secondly, it requires the expertise of the teams in order to manage these scripts, because these are the programming languages, of course, there, although it's a test suite, but it requires a programming language efforts as such in order to go ahead with that, in order to manage these things. So it requires a kind of an expert team who can actually handle these scripts, or who can work on these requirements. So that's a kind of a overhead, because if it's not like very easy to manage these, like pretty much a person who is an expert in these things can only handle these kind of requirements. So it's kind of a limitation where we will be only depending on an expert to manage these scripts as such, right? Now it's not having any kind of inbuilt reporting capability over here, so it's not available in this one. So test reports which is getting generated here is with the help of the JUnit and TestNG. So there is no default reporting mechanism which is available over here in this one. So we only have the mechanism of the JUnit, like we can extend our test scripts in Selenium by integrating with JUnit and the TestNG here, so that we will be able to get a proper reporting. So for the reporting purposes, we actually use the components like test JUnit and the TestNG over here to go ahead with that. So these are the ways in which we can actually go for the integration, where we can integrate the Selenium and the other frameworks like JUnit and the TestNG kind of components here. And that's the whole basis, because alone the Selenium WebDriver is something which can execute the scripts, process the request, but it's not going to handle any kind of reporting mechanism. So reporting mechanism is something which you can only get with the help of the JUnit or the test ng here, because these are the additional packages which you need to integrate. So it's a kind of a custom solution which we need to design, where we don't have only the WebDriver available over here, like the core components, but also we have like other components available over there, which will be of course having the other components like TestNG and the JUnit here. So that's also something which you can integrate all together with this one, right? Also it's very difficult to manage. There is a lot of management or the maintenance activity which we get over here. Also it's very difficult to scale this up also, depending on the load or depending on the requirement. It's very difficult to scale it up also if you are using for some infrastructure, some kind of a load there. So having it increased to a different level is kind of a difficult task here. Also maintenance activity is quite huge, so if you want to have a proper maintenance or management, you have to get a couple of experts in that case, so that they can easily manage those things. So these are the different requirements which is available there, where we can see like how exactly the we can manage all these things. Now it also allows the cross browser compatibility testing here. So it's something which can easily handle like different requests across the browsers. So image testing is not available, so you don't have to use the Selenium alone. Like Selenium alone is not compatible for testing the images here. So if you really want to test the images, so you have to integrate securely in with your Selenium, so that you can have a complete package. So again, Selenium in some cases is not sufficient for like most or a variety of things there. So in some cases you have to actually go for another tool integrations, so that you can have the complete details, you can have the complete component here. So that's where the real mechanism comes in. Like, yes, you don't have the exact single tool available for taking care of all these things, but yes, you can have all these things integrated with the other tools, other components there, and from there you will be able to get a complete values and the complete implementation here, right? So these are the different drawbacks which we get once we start using the WebDriver here. So let's go ahead with the particular demo over here to understand like how exactly the Selenium WebDriver can be utilized, can be used, so that we will be able to run some test scripts here. So we are going to prepare a test suite here so that we can get it executed with the help of Selenium. So that's what we are trying to do here. So for this one, we require some couple of components to be there, like the JDK, Eclipse and all. So let's talk about that component. So let's go ahead with the implementation. So let's begin with the configurations of this WebDriver here. Now the very first thing which we require is that we require to the installation of the Java here. Now let's go ahead with this URL. So now this one is something where we have to see like how we can go for the installation of the JDK here. Now here we need to go for the JDK installation. That's a version which we want to install. Now variety of versions are available there, like which version you want to install, you can go with that. JDK 11, 8 is the most stable version, so you can go ahead with the JDK 8 here. So you can download here different platforms it's available, like Windows platform, whatever the platform is there. All you need to do is like you need to just download this exe file. Now once the exe file is downloaded, so what happens, like you will be able to do the installation. Now I have done the installation of this JDK here, so if I have to open my command prompt here, I would be easily able to see that I'm using a JDK version of 1.8.0 over here in this one. So that's a version which I'm using. But again, of course, if you're using some different version of JDK, that will also work here. The only thing is that you need to see that you need to go for a compatible browser, a compatible Java and the compatible Eclipse tool here. So that's what you require. Now what I'm going to do is like I'm going to install or download the Eclipse browser also. Now let's download the Eclipse here. Now we got an official website of Eclipse here from where we can download these Eclipse. Different platform you can do it, like this is the one which is available there. Now you can click on download this one, so that will help you to download the Eclipse here. So here the download will work just like that. You can do the download here. Even if you want to go for a different offerings, like you want to go for a different platform, you feel like you want to decide that which package actually you need to do, because in the Eclipse also you got like different things. IDE, Eclipse IDE for the Java developers, for the C++. So different operating system and different packages are also available there. So it's basically up to you like which exactly environment you want to follow. So I want to download this 64-bit over here in this one. So let's download this here. Now let's again download this. This is kind of a exe file which is available here. So let's download it again. Now it will be working on like it's kind of a download which is getting started over here. So it's close to 102 MB which is available there. This is the executable which is going to help us to do the installation of Eclipse. Now this is the latest version, 2020 version is what it is getting installed over here. And it's completely there. I have already got the JDK installed. Because of the fact that using this JDK, the Eclipse will be open. If you don't have the JDK installed, the Java runtime, then the Eclipse will not be installed for you. So in order to get the Eclipse installed and executable perfectly fine, you need the JDK installed to be done here. So we got like 1 more minute here to complete the download, and this is just an 102 MB package or installer which is available there. And once this is installed, we will be able to get ahead with this installation of the Eclipse here. So once the Eclipse is installed, all you can do is like we can go ahead with the particular configurations. You can create some couple of projects in case of Eclipse. Then we'll also see like how we can download the programming languages bindings, so that also we are going to download. So these are the different components which you're going to explore while working on this one. So let's wait for this download of this executable to be performed here, so that we will be able to proceed further with this one. So let's wait for that. So it's hardly taking 1 minute more to complete it. So Selenium and Eclipse both are the open source one. You're getting a donate to Eclipse community page there because that's a donation which they want. But again, you can use it like 100% open source and free of cost here. So you don't have to pay any cost as such over here in this case. So there is no cost associated with this one. So just 10 seconds more, and then we can pursue with the installation of the Eclipse here. And here we go. So the installer is almost done here, so I can pretty much go ahead and open the file. So this will help me to do the installation of the Eclipse here. So the Eclipse installer is what it's getting started, initialized over here in this one. Now the Java runtime is already available with me. We require the specific JDK installed. The Java command line is working. We can download the Eclipse here, and then we can go for the specific executions, like we can go and download the browser drivers here. Now the thing is that if you really want to go for the Chrome browser or Firefox or any kind of those things, in case of your particular system, in case of your Windows machine over here, you don't have to necessarily go for any kind of a driver as such here, because of the fact we got a links over here, like this Mozilla for the Firefox. This one is there for the particular Selenium. This one is there for the Chrome. Now Chrome is something which we have already got here, like we have already got the Chrome browser installed. But let's see, like we can download this driver also, like depending on that we can go ahead with that part, and then we can also download the Java client libraries over there from the bindings over there from the specific selenium.dev website over there, and we can download and we can integrate it. So let's do it one by one. So first of all, let's see, like, once the installation of the Eclipse is done, and then we'll be able to go ahead with the third component or the third request, which is the web driver or a particular Chrome browser driver over here. So this installer is going to give us the same thing here. So I'm going for the specific Java developer here. So let's go for the installation here. Now this is going to install the Java 8, right? This runtime over here. So if you feel like you want to use the JDK 11, because that's something which is available there. Now if you're using an existing ones, like you're already using an existing ones over here, the JDK, and also that's where the installation is going on, like it's going on with that part here. But we already got some system related JDKs which is installed, but you feel like you want to go ahead with this one, like you're not doing the separate installation of the JDK or JRE, so there you can actually use this ones here. So let's select this one. Like I pretty much want to use like any one of these JVMs over here, like which I feel like I can configure or I can utilize. So that's pretty much we can do here. So it's like we can use these variables, like we can go for these JVMs, or if you feel like you can go for an external JVM also there. So it all depends on you, like how the installation you want to perform here, right? And this is the location. Let's go for the desktop location there, and or you can go for the default location also over here in this one. So let's go for the installation now. Just accept it, and the installation will be proceeded over here. So even if you have not done a separate JDK installation, so this will basically have a JDK installed. I have selected the Java 11 over here, but you can go for the 15 also in this case, in this scenario. So the whole installation of the Eclipse is what it's happening over here. So once the Eclipse is installed, so then we can pretty much go ahead with the next component there, which is like dealing with the specific Selenium related components. And Chrome browser, again, it's already something which is installed there, but we'll see like how we can download the Chrome driver, how we can configure, and we can utilize that. So that's what we're going to follow here. So it's going for the installation, and it's something which we are trying to do, like it's this installer is pretty much downloading some couple of components as such, like this JRE is something which is getting installed or downloaded from the Eclipse website, and that's where the all the components is getting installed. So one by one, all the components will be downloaded from the Eclipse website here, and it's a complete package, which means like you don't have to necessarily go for a separate installation. There is another installer which is available for Eclipse, where you just have to unzip a zip file, and you can pretty much use it. But in this case, this is something which is having all these things integrated all together inside that. So that's another component which is being available here. So the installation is still going on there. So it depends, because all these things are getting cached from the internet. So it also depends on like how much size of file is getting downloaded here. So let's wait for the installations to be complete, and then we'll proceed further. So now the installation is done, so we can launch our Eclipse here. So that's what we are trying to launch here. Now apart from Eclipse, what happens, like we require some other components also. Like we require the Selenium WebDriver also there. So for that, we have to download the Java related client bindings. So for that, Chrome browser, first of all, it's already installed, so we don't have to do any kind of installation there. Yes, I can go ahead with the exe file like of the Chrome browser driver that I'm going to use it. So I'm going to open the specific downloads here. Now in this segment, what happens, like selenium.dev is the website which is available there. Now here we can go for the downloads. Now related to your programming language, whatever the programming language you are trying to use, so you can download the language binding for that. Now language binding is something which is utilized, so using which you will be able to see like how you can establish the connectivity. It's just a kind of a libraries where you can do the connectivity and you can see that execution. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to download these bindings here. So let's download this one. Now it's again available as a zip file which is available there. So depending on the version, you can go for the beta download version also, but I'm going for the stable version which we want to utilize. We want to refer it. So it's going to download this zip file. So this zip file will have all the jar files and all the required libraries there. And when I'm going to create a project into my Eclipse, at that moment of time, I would be requiring all these components, like all these various libraries should be added up into my project as such in case of the Eclipse. So that's what I need to do here. So let's go to the Eclipse here. So here we are going to expand this like a package explorer, and here we are going to go to File, New, and Java project. So I'm going to create a Java project over here. So in which we will be creating some couple of class files in which we will be having the Selenium related test cases, like how we want to process or how we want to execute that part. So I'm going to proceed with that part. So let's put the project name here. So I'm going to say like Selenium, just a project name I want to put. Then the JDK. Now if you want to go for a specific JDK like another version, so you can go with that, but right now I'm using like JDK 1.8, which is pretty much configured, so I can use that. You feel like you want to use the specific JRE of JRE which is available as part of JDK 1.8, that also you can use. Or if you want to use like a JDK, so that also something which you can utilize over here in this one. So there are different things, like you can configure the JREs also. So if you have some custom path which where you have the Java available or the JDK or JRE is available there, so that also you can easily refer it. So you can simply say that yes, this so and so location I want to refer, I want to see my source code. So that's where you can go for the execution. Now once you're providing these values like the installed JREs which you want to provide, which you want to process here, next thing what you need to perform is like you need to go ahead with that execution. So I'm completely okay with the JDK. Whatever the environment I want to process, I can easily do that, and I'm completely okay with that, right? So let's go with that part and then click on next. And this is the source directory which is available there, right? And if you want to add any additional libraries, so here exactly you can add your Selenium related libraries using which you will be able to see your source code working fine. But I'm not going to do that activity here, so I'm going to do that later on so that we can get complete things in a sequence. And then here we go, like finish. So you will be able to get the GR related libraries and the source folder here. So right now it's completely empty project. There is nothing available as such here. And what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a class file over here to see with the specific source code of the Selenium to how the WebDriver is getting loaded up and processed. So that stuff we are going to talk about here. So let's see like what content we need to really put up over here in this one. Now if we downloaded this Selenium programming language bindings here, so let me extract it. You can pretty much keep it into the Eclipse folders also, or if you wish you can keep it aside in some specific folder, because it's just going to be different with every project. So it's just a kind of a shared libraries which is available there. So whatever project you want to onboard, you want to use, so this kind of package or this kind of shared library you can easily utilize and you can implement it. So we are just trying to extract it. Now once the extraction is done, so you will be able to see like some couple of files and folders. Now this is having a particular two executable files like client and combined. This is kind of connecting, acting like a Selenium client, and which is using to connect and process all the requirements. We also have a sources file which is available there for this one, but again it's something which depends on the requirement. So you don't have to put the sources jar file also over here because that's not required. So you can pretty much use this executable jar file, because in this one you will not have any kind of source. Then of course your Selenium related jar file is further on dependent on some dependencies like this. So these jar files are also something which you should be putting up into your specific shared library, so that your Selenium related jar file should not started failing. So we'll try that scenario also, so that we can get the complete output and complete instance here. So let's see. Now we'll go to this, we'll import this particular file over there, and for that we have to write a class file. So let's see like how we can do that. So we have already got the Selenium WebDriver. So the Eclipse is what we have followed. So we have created a new jar project. Now we want to create a new class file. The build path configurations, we will be taking care of that later on, but right now we are going to see like how we can proceed further with that. So I'm going with this specific component here, right? So whatever the browser or whatever the driver you want to follow, you can do that. So Firefox, if you want to use or Chrome browser, it all depends on you. Like it all depends on the way like how you want to configure it. So let's see, let's import this particular component here. Now if the specific Firefox browser is installed, that's great. If it's not installed, so you can just go back here. So here you will be able to see like this browsers, like these specific components which is available here. So this is the driver which is available. So for the Windows 64-bit, you can again download this one here. So whatever the platform you want, like if you want to use for the Chrome browser, you can go for that. If you want to go for the Firefox, Edge, whatever the driver you feel like you want to go, you can go with that part here. So let's open this one here and extract this one also, so that we should be able to refer it over here into our specific source code. So this is the driver, this is the exe file which is available there. Now all we need to do is like we need to just open our Eclipse there. So in our Eclipse we should be using, or we should be referring to this one here. So this is a kind of a path which is available. Similarly, we will also be giving a path over there, so that we can refer to that specific driver, over here. So let me open that and let's see. So I'm going to create a class file here. You can create a package called com, and in that package you can further on create a class file like Selenium test. It's also depends, like this is just a custom name. So you feel like you want to give some different name, you can go for any kind of class name over here, but this is something which is something we are going to see like how the execution needs to be performed and needs to be done here. So there are different names, like you want to follow some different name, you can do that also. Now if you see closely here, let me save the file here. Now in this one you're getting some errors related to this one, like you're getting the error codes related to the imports here, like how the specific execution should be done here, right? Now the thing is that this is something which is really causing the problems, like how the import or the execution should be done, right? Also the thing is that we require these imports to be available there, right? So that's definitely we are requiring over here, and that's something which we require, we want to process as such also. So right now let's have an particular declaration of the package also there, because it's something which is there in the comp package. So let's have the package com also here, so it's there in the comp package. But again, those errors are not related to that. So these are like related to the configurations which we are trying to put, and during the copy paste there might be a conversion of the code, so that I have taken care. Great. So let's see. Now what I have to really do is, like, we have to see like how we can proceed further on the furthermost executions, and we need to get this driver, like we need to get this one. So I'll right click on my project here and go to the build path and click on configure build path. So first I'm going to add my binding jar file there, the Java binding jar file which I downloaded just now, this Glide combined one here. So only this jar file we are trying to add up over here, and with that most of the related errors related to that imports will be resolved. Now I'm not sure that how it's going to work, how it's going to function, whether it's going to success or failure, that's a different story. But yes, all you have done is, like, I right clicked on my project, went to the build path, went to the configure build path here, and went for the add external jars. So these are the external jars which you have to do, we have to put up over here. So only the combined client combined jar file is what I have put up over here in this one. In the referenced libraries, you will immediately be able to know that part of the jar file here. Now this is the directory where you will be having the exe file available for that driver for the Firefox. So let's get the path for our component also. So we got the path, so let me paste it over here. And here we go. So we got the path here. This is the folder where we got our driver available here, and let's try to resolve it. Let's try to run it over here. Great. So now I'm going to right click here, just say run as and Java application. Now in this one I got an error saying that some Google common collect immutable map some class file is not available there. This is the fact that I did not imported those dependent jar files also, which we got downloaded from the Java binding file here. So that zip file was also having some of the jar files there in the library folders. So in this one also you will be able to see like some executions of the jar files is required over here as an imports, as a standard imports. So let's import this one, and this is the reason why we got the error at the first place, because we are not importing those jar files which is being required by our client combined jar file also. So these are the dependent jar files which we are trying to import here. So ultimately at last you will be able to have your referenced libraries available here with all these jar files component available here. Right now, since our driver is configured, everything is configured. Now the next thing which we require is the browser. Now I have the Chrome browser, but unfortunately I don't have the Firefox browser. So let's go ahead and download the Firefox browser. So for that, let's open the browser. So I'm going to download a Firefox browser over here into my system. So the official website is something which is quite good, so we can go for the download Firefox here. Now why? Because I require, now I'm using the Firefox here. If I am using the Chrome browser, I will not be having or facing any kind of issues as such, but since I'm using the Firefox driver, so I require a Firefox browser. So the dependency of the browser is there when we want to go ahead, because pretty much my code base is going to connect, or this one is going to connect to the driver here, but driver ultimately internally or require a browser so that it can perform the executions, it can do that execution. So these drivers are going to just communicate between the your source code and the actual browser here. So after the driver, you also require the browser to be installed, like the Chrome browser to be available here, so that you can pretty much use it and you can perform the configuration. So let's see, we are getting the browser over here in this one, and we got the browser installed perfectly fine over here. So we should be able to see the browser because in this one we are basically trying to open the browser and getting a website called www.google.com here, and then we are having a particular sleeve one, and then ultimately the driver is getting quit here. So let's see. So once the browser is downloaded and installed, so right click on run as Java application. So you will be able to see the browsing here. So okay, it's connecting the browser, the Firefox exe file is getting executed, a browser is getting executed, and it will be maximized automatically. You can see here like it's getting maximized automatically here, and we just have to wait for a couple of seconds more, and here we go, we got the browser closed automatically also, because there was a slip of a couple of seconds over here, and you got the failure, like you got the complete component, or it got the driver closed there. Driver closed means that definitely the browser will also be closed here. And you can see here that the specific output which is being performed or which is getting executed over here, it's actually showing us like how the executions and the setup needs to be performed or needs to be done here. So this is the way that how the implementations really performed or really gets executed over here. In this case, you got the browser execution and everything will be work perfectly fine. So again, I'm right clicking over here, just click on run as Java application. The same browser will be open again. It will be automatically refreshed. You will see that progress like this, and after a couple of seconds the thread will be on sleep, but yes, after that it will be closed automatically over here. So like that you can program how to open a website, how to proceed further from there. You want to click on some buttons, you want to do some processing, that's all up to you, like how you program, how you code it over here. So this completely helps you to see like how exactly you can go ahead with the complete program, and this program will help you to execute a good amount of testing, validations, and running or executing some couple of test cases. So this is what we have in this demo, where we saw like how we can configure the different drivers, the web driver, the browser driver, and ultimately the browser and the Selenium WebDriver here. So you're using the Selenium WebDriver over here, which is going to invoke the browser driver, and this browser driver is going to invoke the browser as such over here in this case. So that's it for this demo. Let's move on to main content. So that was the demo in which we executed a very simple program in order to execute the Selenium WebDriver, which is going to further invoke the browser driver, the Firefox driver, and then it was invoking the specific implementations there, right? So this is what we did, and if we summarize this demo, so in this one we downloaded the Selenium WebDriver, we installed it, we configured it, we integrated the Eclipse with the Selenium WebDriver, and we also executed a specific test script in order to see like how a particular browser will be invoked. And in the previous cases, yes, the browser was invoking a www.google.com website there, and we were getting the response accordingly, and that was the executions mechanism. Like that's the whole basis that how the Selenium test cases used to work and used to be integrated over there. So this is the complete way that how exactly we did this demo here. So pretty much that's a module which we were trying to explain today, to understand, to make you understand that what is the benefits of using a Selenium, how we are getting the different benefits out of Selenium. And the biggest benefit is like how in a non-interactive mode you can see the progress, you can see the validation happening there. So all you need to do is like you need to just click on one button and the whole processing will be done. And these kind of automations is quite beneficial when you talk about the sanity testing, the smoke testing, and any kind of validations going on there. So that's where the Selenium integrations really works here. So that's it for this module. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.